The Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser, the 9th President Emeritus of the Historical Society of Berks County. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats this Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to our March 7th, 2012 BCTV program. Seated to my right is Joshua Blay, Curator and Associate Director of the Historical Society of Berks County.
Hello, George.
And seated to his right is Sime Bertolith, Executive Director of the Historical Society. And to Sime's right is Kimberly Richards Brown, Society Archivist and Library Director.
Hi, George.
Hi.
Our Henry Johnson Library, Museum, and Museum Store open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Our current special exhibits, including an exhibit on Berks County racing and also the newly opened Barnyard Art of Berks County. One of the many benefits of membership in the Historical Society includes 10% off in our museum store, stocked with quite a number of books, toys, and other gift items. Just in time for Easter, if we have a chance to pin on that little green table over there, we have a new selection of Nolde Forest pottery eggs and our monthly museum store specials of the rifle book and Following the Drums. Members receive an extra 10% off on the sale items. And non-members receive 10% off. So if you're a member, you receive 20% off. Unfortunately, the eggs are not chocolate eggs.
We remind viewers that for $55 a year, you could be one of us, a member of the Historical Society of Berks County. Membership in our society includes a prize-winning quarterly magazine, the Historical Review of Berks County, in print since October of 1935. Membership in the society includes unlimited use of the museum and library. Incidentally, family memberships, all living in the same house, are $65 a year.
And while we're on the subject of memberships, George, we remind the viewers at home that Berks Community Television, BCTV, is a survivor and a top venue and that a unique entity and that it's interactive. You're encouraged to call in with questions and comments to 610-378-0426.
Why not salute BCTV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks and send a check for $30 for a year's membership. Mail your check to BCTV, 645 Penn Street, Reading 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away. Isn't that true, Mr. Bertolith?
It is very true. I wish they would, but they don't.
Let's begin today's program with some views that continue the rare collection of Reading area pictures introduced in last month's program. By the way, and when this series we've gone through, I found another series today that haven't been seen by the general public for about 20 or 25 years. There is some really rare material that I have ready to go as soon as the current series has been shown. Anyhow, we're pleased to comment that we've received some wonderful comments from people concerning the slides that were shown last time, and the general public is appreciative of the program that you're watching. We get many comments, all of us do, of the people who watch this program, and we appreciate the loyalty of many of the viewers of our program. If we can start the carousel. All right. I just came across a very interesting article that deals with this. Do you see in the foreground you have a park? That park doesn't exist anymore. That was along 724 at the foot of Valley Stream Road. You go up that road and you wind up in the golf course at Flying Hill. Now, this time of the year, before the trees begin to fill in, if you're heading towards the Morgantown Road from the Animal Rescue League and you're going along Route 724, as you approach a little bridge that was rebuilt about 30 or 35 years ago. There was an old stone arch bridge that used to be there at the foot of Valley Stream Road. If you look over as you're making that little turn and you look straight ahead, you can see that lock in the background. We are looking generally, if we stayed on the Schuylkill and headed into the back of that picture, you would wind up sort of behind Forest Hill Cemetery, and if you kept on going, you would be along Reading's waterfront. That was Little Reading Dam. Now, part of that, those locks survive miraculously at Little Reading Dam, and if you had a little boat or you got on the other side on the old High Hoke property and you walk down to that dam site, there are stones in there with wonderful engravings with a date of an enlargement, I think, of 1845. Those stones are still there, or at least they were the last time that that I was there. This in the foreground, the Union Canal used to come along here and empty sort of behind those trees in Old Lock 54. And there was a strip, there was like a little island there that's called Mifflin's Arm. And Mifflin's Arm really was the original Union Canal that ran along the Schuylkill on the south side. On the south side, as you're going over 724, you would look down in. As a matter of fact, if you go to the foot of Valley Stream Road, park your car, and walk down through the woods towards the Schuylkill, you will find, now that's the Schuylkill Canal lock over there, but on this side you'll find Old Lock 54. It's still there. It was a huge lock, a brownstone lock, and a very deep one. And part of the old lock house is still there. At least it was, the foundation is there. When I first went back, the walls were still standing, with not too much left. Interesting story. When you come down Valley Stream Road, years ago there was a pavilion right at the foot of Valley Stream Road, and it was called Yost's Landing. And when they would manufacture stoves and whatever at the Mount Penn furnace, which was on Flying Hill, not Mount Penn, they would bring the stoves down Valley Stream Road, and they would put them in that pavilion for shipment on the canal. I took my one son there years and years ago to take some pictures because I heard that they might be tearing away Yost's Landing Pavilion, and indeed they did. We went down there, I took a couple of pictures, he and I walked around, and 2 days later we picked up the Reading Times to read that some man followed his wife, his estranged wife, and he killed her, and she must have been 20 feet away from us inside that pavilion, and we didn't know that she was there. Wouldn't have we been surprised that we continued walking through? Well, anyhow, that was Yost's Landing, and Yost's Landing no longer exists. The pavilion is gone, but it was right at the foot of Valley Stream Road. That is another view of what used to be down there, and none of that exists at all today. What happened was little bits along the river did survive, I mean, up at Hamburg and at various places from improvements of a century ago. Tropical Storm Agnes wiped away all that had survived. That is all gone. Now this house used to be standing maybe 20, 25 years ago, and the last time I walked back through there, there was virtually nothing but a few stones lying from the foundation. But that house would have been between 724 and the Union Canal Lock House, number 54. But they had a park in there. It was called Flying Hill Park. I just came across an Eagle article about that from about 1895.
Wow.
There's another view. That really shows, and I look at this and I'm wondering exactly where did they stand to take that picture. I have an idea it might have been at Penny Proserpes' property.
Really? Huh.
Because how else would you get to that elevation going over the roof? That Penny Proserpes' property had been Mary Archer's house, built prior to World War I. But there's a good view of Little Reading Dam and the lock. The dam is gone. That's down on Long Island of Reading, Pennsylvania. When they dug the Schuylkill Canal along Reading's waterfront from the foot of Franklin Street to Jackson's Lock at the foot of 6th, when they dug down through the earth to make the canal along Reading's waterfront, they created an island, and that was Long Island. The old Keystone Fire Company at 2nd and Penn started out on the island, and it was originally chartered as the Keystone Hook and Ladder Company of Long Island, Reading, Pennsylvania. That's how their charter had read. I look at that picture, and I'm always impressed by the fact, look at those canal boats.
Yeah.
And that was Long Island. What has happened over the course of time with the coal silt washing down through and everything else, there is no longer an island that has all been filled in. And the trees that you see there, you know, I really haven't walked. If you go to the foot of South 6th Street and keep on walking, and you come to the remains of the swinging bridge that used to be at the outer station, if you're in that general section, if you see the swinging bridge foundation, you're a stone's throw from Jackson's Lock.
Right down by Canal Street Pub.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, right. Look at that. The boats that were no longer in use and were no longer watched over during the Great Depression disappeared. People would sneak down at night with a hatchet. And all those boats wound up being burned up for fuel during the Depression, with the people being destitute.
Really?
That's what happened to so many of the canal boats. Yeah, into the 1930s, early 30s, there were a lot of canal boats. There was one down near Giles Lock. There was, well, some along up at Hamburg. There were some in the center of Mooresville area.
I was going to say, weren't there a number of them languished up north, even to Agnes, perhaps?
Yeah, till Agnes,
wow.
right. The 3 boats up there in the Hamburg area. What was it? The Gwen, the Item, and I always forget the 3rd one. Well, 2 out of 3 isn't bad.
No.
That's right.
A close-up view. By the way, for the people who might not have seen last month's program, what you're seeing here are extremely rare pictures taken prior to 1900. They were taken by a fellow who belonged to a photographer's group. He lived on South Front Street. That would be as you go to West Reading, on the Penn Street Viaduct. It would be on the left side, well, down around Rack. It would be in the area of Rack. There was a whole string of houses down there that have long since disappeared.
It's neat. You can see the hinged smokestacks, and you can tell there's 3 boats tied up right there.
Yeah. The 2 big boats that survived the longest were the Carrie and the Rosa. And I'm not sure which one that is, but during holidays they would carry an enormous number of people. At one time they used to go as far as Valley Forge, but in the latter days of operation, by the way, by about 1917 most canal travel ceased, because as some of the people watching this program remember, the Schuylkill was so silted that boats just simply couldn't get through anymore. I always tell the story about Sammy Goldwyn, who lived in the 400 block of West Windsor Street, and there was so much coal silt under the Schuylkill Avenue Bridge that there was only a small channel in the center where the water actually passed through, which is why the Schuylkill always used to flood years ago. There was no place for the water to go. Sammy would take a running jump. He had legs like a grasshopper, and he could actually jump across the Schuylkill River over to the Glenside side. Let's take a little break and continue.
Okay, I guess we'll bring the laptop up next for some increase in technology here. I was thinking about bringing some sort of snow-related items, but A, we really haven't had snow.
And the only remind people what it's like.
Exactly. And the only snow-related items we really have in the collection is some nice artwork, but that doesn't really equate so easily for BCTV. So with the recent news of the tornadoes in the Midwest and some other places, I thought we would go back to about 120 years ago. And George, feel free to pop in here.
You know, the amazing thing is that the cyclone season really hasn't set in yet. That's the scary part.
We're going to go back to January 1889 when we had the great cyclone of 1889, and I also have some photographs on top of the counter here. We have some other slides here, but I guess if you want to show some of the spools there and the shuttle, then we'll have a look at some of the images on the laptop after we have enough look at those. It hit on the afternoon of January 9th, 1889, with news accounts coming in of its progress eastward from Altoona and Harrisburg. The telegraph network lit up with the progress of the storm, and it hit about 5 in the afternoon. The path of destruction was from Front and Windsor Streets over towards Hampton Heights. There was roof damage at the Sternberg Bolt Works, the Mount Penn Stove Works, and the St. Joe's Catholic Church, and a dozen homes on the east side of North 9th and 5 larger homes on North 11th were destroyed or very heavily damaged, and not to mention the numerous trees, tin roofs, sections, and porches. The most serious damage, however, happened at the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad shops, where 5 of the 30 men working in the building were pinned by wreckage and unfortunately later perished in a fire, which happened as a result of the walls collapsing. And also the 3-story silk mill at North 11th, 11th and Marion, that completely collapsed. Amazing. Thankfully, it happened later in the day, so there weren't as many women and also men working in there.
And girls.
And girls. Of the more than 90 people in the building at the time, it's only 17 died, and most of those were on the 1st and 2nd floor when the building unfortunately pancaked down. By morning, thousands had gathered to witness the search and recovery and view the results. Reconstructed after, the building still exists today as a apartment building.
And the tower still is there.
And the tower is still there too, and also on top of the powerhouse. I'll show you a couple images on the laptop here. On the left was a song composed by Bissell and Harvey in commemoration of the Silk Mill disaster. And on the right-hand side, these images and information comes from no less than 4 different issues of the Passing Scene. The images on the right were images, I don't know why they have 19, and your story was one questioning that also. They have 19 women, but 17 people were killed, including the gentleman there. I think he was a foreman at the time. Here's some images of the Silk Mill disaster the morning of.
Morning after.
The morning after. Just an amazing amount of wreckage they reported. Just an amazing amount of lumber and bricks and glass and whatever else flying around. And it only took about a minute or so. You can see the remnants of the tower there in the middle and just all the wreckage, the strewn equipment in the middle, not to mention all the knitting machines and associated materials.
Those are really excellent photographs.
Here's the remains of the P&R shops. They were painting passenger cars. So they had, you can actually see, these are the remnants because they would have had wooden passenger cars. If you look closely, that's one end of a passenger car right here. That's the end, the coupler would be right here, and there's some railing right there. Those of you who would have had an HD TV might show up a little better.
Yes.
But just an amazing effect the cyclone had.
Those pictures sold very well in 1889. You know, in that time period, most people never saw a disaster because occasionally there would be drawings in the newspaper in that time period, no actual photographs, so that people really didn't see disaster as we know disaster today. So when that happened, people came in throngs to see the remains, and they went and bought pictures of the Silk Mill disaster for their photograph albums. That's as close as they ever got to seeing a real disaster. They sold very well.
Like
it was instantaneous, yeah. Right.
And or took away relics. And
by the way, speaking of relics, in that last picture, there's a rare picture there. I can see Moscow's. Oh, there's a playground over there. You see the fire company.
On the fire.
Yeah, that school was one of Reading's schools, and long since gone. They took it down. There was a playground there. I'm just thinking, how far is Boscov's lot from there?
I'm not sure.
Where the store burned. Let's see, that's 9th and Marion.
Yeah, 9th.
Okay, that's the 9th and Marion school. That's what I was trying to think of. That's the 9th and
2 blocks away from the Silk Mill.
Yeah, that's the 9th and Marion school.
Going back to this shot for a second, I was just reading a newspaper account today of some lucky gentleman who was in the tower at the time of the disaster. He was sent up to the tower to get some pulleys,
Wow.
and he witnessed the building collapse behind him, so he was in the right place at the right time.
And you mentioned about, I saw a newspaper article just today myself that I printed out. They had a reunion about 1939 or something of survivors of the silk mill disaster, and they were all well up in years. One man and the rest were women.
Really? Huh.
This piece here, I don't know if you can tell, but someone had written on the center shaft the details and time of the disaster as sort of a souvenir. And a lot of people came away with a lot of souvenirs like this, from what I understand. Oh, there's a little. There we go.
Oh, I see.
You can see.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up very well.
Any accounts about how far the cyclone scattered that thing? Were they, you know, finding them a mile away?
I don't remember seeing anything in there about.
No, I didn't see that either. Basically, they were almost on the side. The thing just...
Oh, collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the poor girls who were downstairs, everything fell on them, all the heavy machinery. The ones who were downstairs were really mutilated.
First and second floor. Yeah. One on the top had a chance.
We have a home viewer. Yes, home viewer, you're on.
Yeah, about that that little shed or whatever it was at the bottom of Valley Stream Road
Yes.
on 724. Okay.
And that house.
Yeah, that was there for a while. I remember that when I was a kid.
What did we're talking about? Maybe 25 years ago.
I think it's longer.
Is it longer? Okay. Yeah, they had a little they had a few little outbuildings as well as the house.
Well, I think what happened there, and I'm not sure about this, that's why I'm calling you up and asking you.
Oh, I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I think when they put that sewer line in, back in the 60s, the people that put the sewer line in weren't very conscious of what they were doing. And,
they were going to develop a park down there. And they started clearing things away for a park that never materialized.
Well, true, yeah. But they sort of messed things up a little bit when they put that sewer line in.
Yeah, they did.
That was an interesting thing because that sewer line, now that's the sewer line that made the development for Flying Hills.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Now, that was Mary Archer and her sister at one time. I think her sister had the land where Flying Hills is. I'm not sure anymore. It's been many years.
It was a family property. Mary and her sister both owned that.
Okay, and I know they used to bring prisoners in there to help their farm out years ago.
Well, you see, she had considerable influence. Yeah, she did.
Yeah. And that wasn't. That was supposed to be titled to some type of Jesuit or something Catholic stuff, and not to be ever sold, which, of course, it was.
Well, they do have that cemetery there, just west of Mary Archer's property, of Valley Stream Road. You know, there's a mine shaft that goes right under that hill.
Oh, is there?
There was an iron mine there, yeah. Carolyn Ramsey, who used to be a township commissioner in Qumru, and I went into that cave years ago, and I was going to do a story on it, and the township commissioners got a little queasy about the thought of other people going and walking into that cave, and they closed it up so well that when you go up that road today, there is no vestige whatever of the entrance to a cave on the right-hand side of that road going up to front.
Really?
It was like 1 block up from the intersection of 724 and Valley Stream Road on the right-hand side.
Oh, my God.
And it came out originally on what would today be Morgantown Road. Now, the old Morgantown Road is a little bit westward, because if you go up the hill, when you cross over Route 10 and start to climb the hill, and if you look down in on the left-hand side, you can still see the old Morgantown Road with the bridge down into that hollow.
Is that up in between? Oh my God!
It's between Route 10 and the place where
it's up further.
Yeah, it's right across from the Hebrew Cemetery.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, look down in that.
Yeah,
that
house.
depression.
Yeah, sure. Right across from the bait shop.
Bait shop.
Yeah, right across from the bait shop. If you look down on the other side of the road, you can see a bridge down there.
Right.
And that's the old Morgantown Road, which was a whole lot lower than the Morgantown Road of today. And there was a big old hotel that was built about, well, we have the sign in the basement of the Historical Society, the Green Tree Tavern.
Green Tree, okay.
Yeah, and that's where that tavern sat, right there along the old Morgantown Road. They took it away when they put the new Morgantown Road in.
I remember one thing somebody told me many years ago. When they put that sewer line in, and like I said, they weren't very good at historical things. As it went down to the river, you know, they just didn't care. Got to put the sewer line in. What was interesting back years ago was that when they put Flying Hills development in for that sewer line, what they did was they actually loaned the township the money and then charged the township interest every year.
Nice.
Is that interesting?
Ah, good old American enterprise.
Yeah, that's great.
That's it. That's just the way it should be.
I guess.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
All right. Good night.
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I'm all set.
All right. Well, let's see. I'll talk about some of the upcoming events, or at least one of them, upcoming event at the Historical Society. And that is the 80th anniversary of John Philip Sousa's final act as a conductor. Back in 2007, I can't believe it's been 5 years since that date. Reading and Berks County, and I'm sure most of the viewers know, but for those of you who don't, Reading and Berks County had a long association with America's March King, John Philip Sousa. He was a great friend to the Ringgold Band and Monroe Althouse, its director at the time. And Sousa would come to Reading and Berks County many times to perform with the Ringgold Band. His last act was on March 5th, 1932, when he was here to conduct a concert with the Ringgold Band. They conducted the last dress rehearsal on March 5th. There was a banquet in his honor at the Wyomissing Club following that dress rehearsal. He made a few remarks, shook a few hands,
signed a few programs.
Signed a few programs, that's right, and then went back to the Abraham Lincoln and, well, maybe not promptly, died. But Sousa is an icon in the United States. Many modern historians call him the Paul McCartney of his day, and he truly was. There wasn't any other musician or band leader and band that could draw as many as 20,000 people to Willow Grove in the 1920s. He is truly an icon, and we celebrate him here in Reading and Berks County. And this year, we're doing it a little bit differently. We're doing what I like to call a prequel. In 1928, John Philip Sousa, to commemorate his 50 years as a conductor, wrote a piece called The Golden Jubilee March. And to bring that piece to the public, he took the band out in the summer of 1928 on the Golden Jubilee Tour. And that's what we're celebrating this year. So on Friday, June 1st, 2012, at Stokesay Castle, the Historical Society of Berks County, along with our friends, the Ringgold Band, is going to have our annual fundraiser. And the proceeds from this event are going to help to bring the education programs that we bring to the kids, students, and adults in Reading and Berks County. It's going to be a great event. It's going to start with a cocktail reception on the terrace at Stokesay at 6 p.m. That's going to go for probably an hour and 15 minutes when we'll go into the ballroom and sit down to a plated sit-down dinner, which will consist of Stokesay's signature filet mignon, accompanied by sautéed red snapper. There will also be a cash bar along with this, and after dinner we're going to be entertained by the Ringgold Band and a special program that they have put together to commemorate that 1928 Golden Jubilee Tour. If you'd like to take part in this event, I suggest you call the Historical Society at 610-375-4375. We have outlaid for 250 seats. We've already got 80 of the seats sold. And we have people calling from as far away as Philadelphia and southeastern Pennsylvania for that. Before we have to go to a break, though, I would like to thank all the sponsors who have helped make this event possible. Without their generous support, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I'd like to just take a minute to do this, and I'm very proud to say we have more than I can memorize. So I'd like to thank our signature sponsors, Stone Ridge Retirement Living. Our March sponsors include Middleton Kreitz and Associates, William G. Cuck and Associates, National Penn Investors Trust, the Highlands of Wyomissing, Customers Bank, Weidenhammer. Our contributing sponsors for the evening include Berkey Construction, Wirt Investment Consulting Group, Phoebe Burks Village, Vist Financial, Reading Eagle Company, and Reading Bakery Systems. It's going to be a great evening, a lot of fun. I encourage all of you to attend. Call the Historical Society for more details, and just remember the date, Friday, June 1st, 2012, beginning at 6 p.m. And I think we got to go to a break now.
You're watching the Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org. Be informed, be involved, be a member. For membership information, go to www.bctv.org/support/membership. For other information on local heritage societies and local history, go to bctv.org. The Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org is underwritten by the Highlands. To find out how you and your business can support a program on BCTV, go to bctv.org.
Okay, thank you. I think we'll see some more slides, and I want to emphasize the fact that the Highlands of Wyomissing has been underwriting this program for quite a number of years, and we certainly are appreciative for their support and their interest in what we present from the Historical Society of Berks County. Okay, if we can have the slides again. Okay. If you would go to the foot of South 6th Street in Reading, take South 6th Street to the very end, walk through the weeds past that large remain of the swinging bridge that used to be at the outer station, and walk towards the water. If you look across the Schuylkill River, you would be looking at that particular building. That was Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller was the last lock tender on the Union Canal when the Union Canal closed in October of 1884. He stayed living there until the day that he died. And I remember coming across an article, I think written in 1926, that made mention that old Mr. Miller's abode was falling apart. So part of it still was surviving into that time period. Here's a closer view, and I think we had shown part of this in the last program. That's a very, very rare picture. There is no other picture of Miller's Lock House, Lock 54. There were two Lock 54s, by the way. Some of you people may have confused you. The original lock house, the end of the Union Canal, ended in Berks County at the foot of Valley Stream Road. There's a little remains of a lock house there and a lock. Along came the flood of 1850 that caused so much damage in the lower section between the lower part of Reading and Valley Stream Road. There was so much damage that they simply gave up trying to do any repairs. So the Union Canal, after 1850, terminated at Reading at new Lock 54. That's a frame building. The original lock house was stone. That would be in the general vicinity if you'd walk back to the Victory Emmanuel Club and walk out the back door. And walk down, that's about where that would have been. I never really got back there because every time I think about going back there, it's the summertime and it's so overgrown it's impossible. And when I could do it, I never think of it. It's one of those things. But anyhow, that was Miller's Lock House. And that is the Union Canal lock, the end of the Union Canal that ran like the old S&S Canal. The Union Canal was the Susquehanna and Schuylkill. It was a union of those that connected those two waterways. And that is the wooden gates at the end of the Union Canal, Lock 54.
Have you ever seen any tonnage records for the Union Canal?
I have some material on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'd be curious to see that.
I have records on that. That's Schwartz's Mill. If you walk along North 5th Street between Penn and Court, Alongside the back part of Colonial Trust, there was an extension of the American Bank. I was on the board at Reading and Harb when they put that brick portion back there. You'll see part of that mill shown in brick. When they had first made plans to put a mural in brick along North 5th Street between Penn and Court on the west side, they had a mill that the sculptor was working on, and it was a European mill, and I said, that'll never do. You can't put a European mill for Schwartz's mill. So she was a little unhappy, but she re-sculpted that portion of the mural, and what's there today is a representation of Schwartz's mill. Schwartz's mill was at the mouth of the Wyomissing. And what happened to Schwartz's mill?
Washed away?
Well, there was a railroad went through.
Oh, the Topolhanken, the viaduct right there, right?
Well, and you had that, wasn't that the Pennsy line, or was it the belt line went through?
Oh, yeah, the belt line, about 1910, 1909?
A little bit earlier, wasn't it? But anyhow, the two things went on back there that messed things up. One was they built the Eiler generating station over there, and what happened was they laid tracks to the Eiler generating station to bring coal and to take the ash away. The ash used to be put in a special trolley car that was designed to carry ash, taken over to the Lancaster Avenue bridge. Earlier it was taken on another bridge, but anyhow, took it over to Carsonia Park, dumped it on the north side of Carsonia Park, because when they first opened Carsonia Park in 1896, the north end of that was a marsh. And what converted it from a marsh to sort of solid land was all the ash from the Eiler generating plant at West Reading, Wyomissing, West Reading, Cymru. Anyhow, that's what happened to that Schwartz mill. They made flour there for Washington's army. That was in that family for many, many years. Wow. The old Schwartz mill, mouth of the Wyomissing. Oops.
Sensors.
Yes. We're getting a little behind in our work. If you look, one of these pictures, I think you actually see cows in the Schuylkill, which surprises me, because as early as 1883, the Reading Iron Company complained that the Schuylkill was so acidic that they couldn't use Schuylkill water to make iron for Reading Iron Company, and they started tapping the city water system, and they bought purified water to make iron, because the Schuylkill, as early as 1883, was very acidy. Anyhow,
the end is near.
The end is near is right.
Did any fish
live
in
that?
Look at that. Well, they
in the last days, when I was a kid, the only thing that lived in the Schuylkill River, they'd occasionally pull out an eel, and I can remember someone pulled out a carp, and I bet you the carp was glad he was caught. It was awful. It was awful. The carp and some eels. By the way, one of the longest eels ever caught in Pennsylvania was caught in the Union Canal over around what became the Eiler plant. By the way, they used to harvest ice from the Union Canal and the Schuylkill Canal along Reading's waterfront.
Yeah, those cows didn't do it much good either.
Yes. By the way, the old covered bridge that crossed the Schuylkill burned in 1876, and it was rebuilt with an iron truss bridge. But isn't that unusual to have the cows like that?
So that's the original one of the original Penn Street bridges, then?
No, that is the Lancaster Avenue or the Lancaster Bridge. The Penn Street Bridge was called the Harrisburg Bridge, and this was called the Lancaster Bridge.
Right.
Now you notice that when you cross the Lancaster Bridge from Reading, going over to what we would Lancaster Avenue today, or the 18th Ward, do you see that there was an old grist mill there?
Yeah, right. So that's a Bingham Street Bridge, or
that's a Bingham Street Bridge, yeah. Correct. Today we call it. By the way, you know, the Bingham Street and Hill, I just mentioned this to someone today, coming in, I had to take a little detour up Hill Road alongside, between City Park and Kesher Zion. And it reminded me that Hill Road is in actuality an extension of Bingham Street. In the 1870s, they sort of chopped things up in order to have square blocks for housing, and when they did that, the old road that crossed the Schuylkill at this point went right up to Hessian Camp. That road was sort of chopped up because of squaring out some of the neighborhoods for regular housing. But the next time you go up Hill Road between City Park and Kesher Zion, say to yourself, this is part of that old Bingaman Street road, named for Mr. Bingaman who lived down in there, that went up to Hessian Camp.
So shallow.
Now, I needn't tell you how old that picture is. That is, by the way, there was considerable damage in 1850 to the covered bridges, and in 1869, 1/3 of the Lancaster Avenue or Bingaman Street Bridge washed away. I can't see that too. Oh, you know what that is? I think that's Kissinger's Bridge. That's a really rare picture. Kissinger's Bridge was an extension of Kissinger Street. Kissinger Street became Schuylkill Avenue. When you came down old-time Schuylkill Avenue or Kissinger Street, you made a little turn where the library is today. And the reason you made a little turn where the library is today was because there was a Kissinger General Store right on that corner that went right out into what would today be Schuylkill Avenue and Windsor Street. And then you made a little turn and you went down the hill. You turned right to the old Kissinger Hotel, which still stands down there. In my time it was called the Redding Cronkite Versammlung. It was a club down there. And you crossed the bridge and you went over, you climbed the hill and made a left-hand turn near the top of the hill, and you wound up with the Showboat over in Glenside.
Oh, that's how they, okay.
That's how that went. And until they messed up that ground for the Carpenter Steel parking over there in Glenside, until they did that, 15, 20 years ago, in the wintertime with a little bit of snow, you could clearly see where you got off the bridge and climbed that hill in Glenside over to the Showboat. That actually went up and connected to a road that was one time called Somerset Road, which ran alongside of the old Marymount on the Schuylkill or the House of Good Shepherd. And what is today Blair, which went over to the old Bushong's Covered Bridge, was originally Somerset Road, and the old Showboat for a while was called the Somerset Hotel. So much trivia for today.
How old was the Showboat? When was that built?
The Showboat was built about 1890.
Is that right? And
when they rebuilt, when that bridge collapsed, which is what happened to it, the men who worked to build the Iron Truss Bridge that was on the site of the present cement Schuylkill Avenue Bridge, the men who built that bridge stayed at the Showboat. So that was built right before that bridge came in.
That was a great old place.
Oh, it really was.
That was really neat.
That is a rare, rare picture. To the best of my knowledge, the only pictures of Kissinger's Bridge that I've ever seen are the ones that I've had in the passing scene.
And for two more tidbits of trivia, that's the Pennsylvania and the Reading Road you're looking at right there.
Yeah. Rare, the bridge is over there on the right-hand side.
So that would have been over the Union Canal on the left then, right?
No, the Union Canal was along the Toppahawk, and this is along the Schuylkill. The Schuylkill was underneath there.
Okay.
Let's take a little break and turn our attention to Mrs. Brown.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I guess the biggest news is that on March 24th at 1 o'clock we are going to hold number 2 and number 3 of our workshop series. The first one, Why Archives Matter, which was originally supposed to be on January 21st, but we got snowed out. I'm assuming that if we're going to see snow in March, it will be on the 24th. Just, prepare. We're going to follow it up with how to research at the Henry Johnson Library. The first part, Why Archives Matter, is going to be a little bit of a background history on archives in general, on the 140-year history of the Historical Society's archives, and kind of go into what we're really doing through the collection inventory, which I have been talking about for 3 years now, everything else that we're doing. We're going to have a little break in between, and then we're going to pick it back up with how to research at the Henry Johnson Library, and it's going to be a discussion on the differences between primary and secondary resources, because the Henry Johnson Library is about 99% primary resources. There's the only secondary resources that we have are in the stack room. And we'll have handouts on how to interpret documents, how to interpret photographs, and we'll also get into how to use the databases that we offer to the public, both the internal ones that you can only access in the library and the external ones that you can access on the public on our regular website. We'll try to make it fun.
Well, I think you ought to tell the audience what the difference between a primary and a secondary
It's primary.
source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Primary resource material is basically like it's a primary. Yeah, it's a first. I'm like, how do I describe this?
Yeah.
It's a first-hand document. So it's going to be like a letter or a deed or a photograph. Believe it or not, newspapers, because those are first-hand accounts of an event. Secondary resources are materials that are produced using the first-hand accounts. It's really how we generate history. A lot of people, when you start your research, always go to the secondary resources first to find out what they use, and it helps lead you to the primary resources, which are in the building.
Cheat on their bibliography.
That's right. when you're a historian, you know.
Go to the bibliography
That's right.
first.
Figure out what everybody else read. That's how all of my research papers got written. Yeah, we'll, we're trying to, introduce people into historic research. And we've been finding that sometimes if you think like a historian, it really opens up your genealogy, because you're not just looking for dates and names, you're looking for the background information. So that will be March 24th, starting at 1 o'clock. It'll probably run the whole thing until 3 o'clock or so, and then we'll do a tour of the Henry Janssen Library. Members for the workshop are free. Non-members are asked to pay the $5 admission for the library, and we will have it in the Connor Auditorium at 940 Center Avenue, because we're open to the public and there's no way we can host a large amount of people in the library all at once. And then we'd also like to remind our viewers that if you're interested in starting your research projects for the year, come on down. We're in our slow season and we'd like to see people come in. If you really need some help starting your projects, now's the best time to get us, because between May and September we're pretty busy and we might not be able to give you the one-to-one
attention.
Yes, thank you.
Personalized service
that we normally can give you when we're quiet. So come on down and visit the archives. It's a hip happening place to be.
Well, Kim had an incredible turnout for your last workshop. That was 55, 60 people.
59 people showed up for the photograph workshop. And if we get the same kind of response for this one in March, we've been batting around some ideas for the next set, which will run in January, February, and March, because it is our slow season and it kind of helps get people into the building. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, that was an exciting program.
Yes. Very coincidentally, there's an article in the upcoming Historical Review of Berks County that talks about the value of archives. It's a splendid article. I wrote it.
Most people... No, I mean, George, most people don't really realize that the Henry Janssen Library is the most important, and I'm not bragging when this is the most important research facility in Berks County. Mm-hmm. When you look at the depth and the breadth and the collections that we have in there, there's, I don't think any organization that has the amount of primary sources that we do.
And virtually every book that has ever been written about Berks County is in that library.
Pretty much. If we don't have it, then it might not exist. Or it hasn't been donated yet.
Yeah, and I think the people, we're proud of it at the Historical Society, but Berks County has a right to be proud of it too.
Oh yes, absolutely. Well, since 1869, that's a long time to be looking around and gathering.
Go like this.
Because we really started seriously gathering in 1898, and really got serious more so in 1902 when we got permanent headquarters, and then we started stacking stuff.
Well, when you consider we ran through 4 buildings before we got to run, we did get serious. And now, if we don't watch ourselves. What else?
I guess I'll start. We're jumping ahead into April, but the Historical Society of Berks County and Rainbow Theater will host Alice's Wonderland Tea Party. It will be April 27th at 7, April 28th at 2 and 4, and April 29th at 2. We ask that if you have any information, please contact Vicki Hefner, our education curator, at 610-375-4375. Adults are $12, children are $10, and you must reserve your ticket.
And I think one last thing I'd like to say before we go on back to slides is the Historical Society we're developing a new program at the Historical Society. You know, when you look at the history of Berks County, the history of Berks County was based on migration and immigration. Whether you look at the Germanics that came from the west bank of the Rhine in the 18th, 19th century, whether you look at the Italian-American community, the Greek-American community, the Irish-American community, the Czechs, the Poles, it is the story of migration. All these groups came to Reading and Berks County to make a better way of life for their families, to start their business, and you know, to see an enhanced quality of life. Well, we're trying right now, and we're developing an event that's we're calling it Berks Roots, an International Legacy. And it's going to be a partnership. This year, it's a partnership between the Historical Society and M&T Bank. We've also engaged Alvernia's Holleran Center for Community Engagement, Maple Grove Raceway, the Crown Plaza, and we will be meeting with Albright as well as Penn State Berks campus. And this is an offshoot of an event that we had for our block party where we were bringing our neighborhood constituency in. This year we're expanding it a little bit, and we're going to include an exhibit as well as a program day for that. This year we're exploring the Latino community in Reading and Berks County and the history of their migration and their immigration. We're going to start with the exhibit, and then on Saturday, September 15th, we're going to feature a day which will begin with a lecture by Dr. Ivan Torres on the history of the Latino movement here in Reading and Berks County, followed by a day of music, dance, and food. So, like I said, we're still in the planning process. We'll bring you more details later, but that's a brief summary of it. Stay tuned for more details. George?
We actually have two events, if we could get in right quick before the last few slides here. This coming Saturday, March 10th, is our second Saturday lecture series. Professionals at 9:30, program at 10 o'clock, and we're very happy to have Lisa Minardi, Assistant Curator at the Winterthur Museum. She'll be joining us to present a lecture on the contributions and achievements of the Muhlenberg family. She's just come from curating an exhibit at Ursinus College that was received tremendously on the Muhlenberg family. And also, coming up on May 1st, and you might say, why am I mentioning this now? The deadline's March 20th. We're running a really nice bus trip down to Philadelphia to see the Van Gogh exhibit at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, which is the only planned tour of this really nice 40 close-ups of landscape flowers and still lives. But also, even beyond the exhibit, we're going to stop for lunch at the Waterworks restaurant, one of the top 100 dining experiences in the world. We're also going to be visiting the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that.
That is worth the price of the trip. If you've never seen that, I photographed that whole thing in 3D years back, 21 color slides. That is one of the great. I visited King Ludwig's 3 castles in Bavaria. I thought they were incredible. Wait till you see the Masonic Hall in Philadelphia. If you've never seen that, people, don't miss the opportunity. It's the Egyptian room, the Arabian room. They are unbelievable. And by the way, the very ornate staircase going to the second floor was made by William Rempus in Reading. It's marked on the side of the post. You do want to see that. If you don't see anything else, go to see that Masonic temple. It's like nothing you've ever seen in your life. And I mean that seriously.
And there's more.
And they also have George Washington's Masonic apron and Benjamin Franklin's Masonic sash. We'll have a guided tour which shows the renovation and also the Oriental Hall and the room and the Wanamaker dining room. And lastly, we're going to stop at How do you pronounce
Bartram's
it?
Garden.
Bartram's Garden. And walk in the footsteps of Washington, Jefferson, and Franklin as we explore America's oldest living botanical garden. I shouldn't tell this because my parents will want to come down for this. The deadline for reservations is March 20th. Please call Vicki Hefner at the main building, 375-4375.
How many seats are on? That's a what, 40?
Yeah, we're at...
And you're already up to...
We're at about 60 or 65 capacity total, and we're already 2/3 sold out.
Yeah.
It's $155 for members, $165 for non-members, but the deadline again is March 20th. So if you want to get on this, no time like the present, and I'm afraid no refunds will be accepted unless there's a waiting list, which I wouldn't be surprised if we do wind up with one.
Have you seen the Masonic Temple?
I have not, and that's what I really want to go see.
It's like nothing you've. I thought King Ludwig's castles in Bavaria were incredible. This is even more incredible.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Ted Kasner was telling me, he's a scientist. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
You might have to close it there. There's so many people that want to go.
A lot of people that want to go.
Yeah, it's.
So thank you, George.
Oh, you're welcome.
Some more slides.
How much time do we have?
1 minute.
Got one picture.
Oh.
One picture, 1 minute.
Okay, let's look at one picture. We have the... Okay, we're on Penn Street, and it's... do I see an elephant? Okay.
You do?
That is... that is Berks County's first skyscraper. Michelin's Grand Central Hotel at 406 to 410 Penn Street. You folks who remember the Acme in Reading, that's where that building stands. Built in 1860, it was some cute stories to tell about that building, but what you're seeing there is a circus parade going up Penn Street. Tell your folks about our program, which is on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7. The program repeats this Friday night at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9. Special thanks to today's superior panel, Joshua Blade, Simon Bertlet, and Kimberly Richards Brown. I'm George M. Miser IX, your host and a 52-year member of the Historical Society. We look forward to having you join us again on the first Wednesday at 7 o'clock in April. Thanks for watching.
April 4th.